channel podcast. All right. So I'm kind of just going to spitball a little bit. I'm very intrigued by the Russell Westbrook and James Harden narrative of this season. Obviously, the leading two candidates for MVP, not including LeBron. So I did a little research because I've been picking a few people's brains in the sports world. And I've come to this consensus, especially after my research validating my argument. My takeaway is that we are praising James Harden because he went from a shooting guard role to a point guard role. And we are bashing Russell Westbrook from trying to do whatever he can to get his team a W at the point guard position. Now, this bodes the question, can we have a ball-centric guard at the one? So here's my little spiel, if you will. Threw this out there, said, let's take it back to 2011, 2012, the year the Heat hosted the Thunder in the NBA Finals, and it went 4-1. That was a wrap, and Harden was on to Houston. Well, looking at those numbers that year in the 21-2012 season, I found this to be very interesting. So James Harden, from 2010 to 2011, so that second season to his third, he went from 2.1 assists to 3.7. Those two seasons, Westbrook went from 8.2 assists down to a career low 5.5 assists per game in the 2012 season, the year they went to the finals. Ironically enough, that same season, Durant had the highest field goal percentage of his entire career as a Thunder for 8 seasons. If I'm connecting the dots like you probably potentially are right now hearing that, riddle me this, ladies and gentlemen. If you were to, on that Thunder team, have had the wherewithal or the cojones, whatever you want to call it, for Scotty Brooks to pull a curveball, a tweak. Cowherd talked about it this morning, about being at the top of your game and being able to tweak, whether you're Tiger Woods or you're Oprah. How about if Scotty Brooks said, you know what? I'm not bringing Harden off the bench. I'm starting Harden at point guard. Because if you remember the formula and the chemistry on that team, this was pre-Rockets Harden. Harden was a incredible drive-in dish, attract more than one defender, find the open man kind of guard. It was only when he went to Houston that he really stepped into the scorer that he is now. But if we're looking at Westbrook having less assists by almost 3, the same year Harden almost doubles his assists, it increases KD's field goal percentage to the highest he ever had in his career, 49.5, and they get to the finals. What if you were to come back the next year, put Harden at the 1, Russ at the 2, keep KD at the 3? Because here's the thing. If Westbrook, even in today's NBA, 2, are we not talking about the best shooting guard in the league? If he's not, then he's 1A right next to James Harden. There's no question about it. But it's in our brains. It's embedded. Can we let go of the idea that a point guard puts up 41 points on to have a triple-double in more than half of his games like it's nothing? I find it to be very interesting. It's a topic certainly worth discussion. And again, if Scotty Brooks makes that chess move and he mixes it up, does that trio stay together? Because the pressure of Westbrook to get Durant the ball, think about the Wade James conversation. Different guys, but then again, it was a 2 and a 3. So the idea of ball hogging or one guy has a rock too much, it's not as prevalent in our minds, that same discussion that it is with the Thunder, because we're talking about a point guard and is he trying to be the 2 too much the man at the one. And let's face it, there's only a handful of guys in the history of the NBA that there's been no arguments with a guy at the point guard position doing it all, a la Magic Johnson. So for me, very interesting conversation. I think if the Thunder were able to make that move, let's just say it worked. They come back the following year. They re-sign Harden because they say, you know what, James? We don't want you coming off the bench. We want you at the one. We're putting you there. We're moving Russ to the two. He's on board because this trio, if it stays together, is going to win for years. Then we're talking about an even bigger scope into the lens that is this trio if it was tweaked. And that is, could they have gotten past LeBron the following year? And then, boom, what happens? LeBron's time to Cleveland, when does that go? We don't see Harden go to the Rockets. We don't see Durant go to the Warriors years later. Again, we could be talking about Oklahoma City as the dynasty right now in 2017 as the dynasty. But instead, we're talking about them like the Phoenix Suns, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire teams that won games in the 60s but couldn't get it together. So again, in conclusion, Russ's assists in the 2011-2012 year went down by almost 3. The same year, Harden's almost doubled from 2.1 to 3.7. And his minutes per game were less than 5, so don't give me that. And this same season, Durant goes 49.5% field goal percentage from the field. If anything, it's interesting than hearing the Browns get brought up on First Take again. Okay? Capiche, gentlemen. Let me know your thoughts. And ladies, mahalo. We out.